Peace and blessings, everyone. It's your favorite truth seeker, truth teller, and brother, Wise Champion, back for another one. And on tonight's episode, I wanted to discuss something that's plaguing really all society, and it's a real hindrance to the character, basically, really of the world. Well, the world as we know it. I'll put it like Western civilization. I'll put it that way, and it has to do with the love of money and what people will do to get money. You know, money is something that's necessary to all of us. We all need it to, purchase goods, food, clothing, shelter, the necessities for our family. And even for more things, if we want to, do something nice, like take a vacation or buy something nice for ourselves, a new car or that toy we've been looking at, whatever it may be. And the problem is that people will do anything to get it. And the code that existed before where you didn't step on each other to get that type of money. It's slowly dwindling. Like it always were a certain segment of people that would, it didn't matter who they stepped on to get whatever it is they wanted, to get money. But now that's extended to more people. I'm noticing that everyone is like money is their god. Whatever underhanded thing they can do, whatever scam they could do. And it's being glorified, especially in the black community, with that song that young lady, Young Miami made, glorifying scammers and things of that nature. This is stuff that's being pumped to our youth. I look at BET, they don't have a show about, black excellence when it comes to the great things we're doing in education, the great things we're doing in medicine, the great things we're doing in all aspects of society, really. But they do have shows about hustlers. They do have shows about people that have been to prison and doing all kinds of things just to get money. And it's really disheartening because now it's like where in the past loyalty was a thing. That loyalty will go out the window for money. And it's embedded into society. Like even when dealing with the police and criminals, that's what the police do. They offer you money. And the first thing you do is you'll go sell a person out, that for some money. Now I understand there's some people that have done some heinous things that need to be, incarcerated. But then they're offering money for, or offering things for people to be locked up for, tax evasion or things of that nature. It's because they know it's a motivating factor along with fear. And it's really disheartening to me to see what our women are doing for money. The OnlyFans generation, with women are just doing any and everything. With their bodies, showing their body, objectifying themselves. For some money, just for a few dimes. And it's a form of prostitution. Like it or not, it's a form of prostitution. And it's kind of sad to see because we will overlook the things that we have built within ourselves character wise just to get a few bucks. Don't get me wrong, I like looking at women just as much as the next man does, and I've expressed that before. But going online and seeing females, every single thing they're doing, they're sitting there with a pair of drawers on with their legs spread wide open, and you can see the form and fit of their genitalia. Their breasts are hanging out. I thought to myself as I was looking, as I've always done, I'll look at it. But I sat and thought to myself one day, if I was this girl's father, because most of them are very young, if I was this girl's father, I would look at myself as complete failure as a father, and I would be devastated. But that doesn't matter because for clicks and likes, what's going to happen when these kids grow up? Their kids grow up and they see their mother, you know, doing these things for money. There's no shame anymore. There's a dollar sign for everyone and everything. And I'm not above that. I've done things I know I should have done for money either. But it's something that we need to rectify and be able to put a limit to and say, hey, these are lines I just will not cross. Like the thing with these males over in Hollywood. Now the thing, especially with black males, they'll make them bend the knee, and they'll make them wear a dress. Doing some real just things that they know they wouldn't do if it wasn't for what was being dangled in front of their face. You know, things that they know they would get ostracized for, but they can say, "Oh, I got $1 million. Oh, I got this contract doing this or on this TV show. Oh, I got that." Why would you completely, emasculate yourself for that? You got to look at yourself in the mirror. Bob Marley said it best: you can run away from everything else, but you can't run away from yourself. And for me to go and sell myself, whatever that may look like, and to have some money for me selling myself, and then I have to go look at myself in the mirror after I've done these things. The money is not going to equate to what I lost in my soul. It's just not. As a thinking person, now some people they just don't really care, and that's a problem. That's a problem because this is what's happening is our children are looking up to this. You know, it's something that we really need to rectify. Money is good to have. I'm not saying that you should abstain from all money and go live a life of poverty, but I am saying that there should be limits to how we go about acquiring that money. All money ain't good money. And people could say, they could be going and doing all kinds of foul things and just presenting themselves in such a foul way. And then, the clap back for them. But I got money though. But you sold yourself. You can't take it with you when you die. So you just can't, you know. And when your obituary is written, what is it going to say? I'm not a fan of Al Sharpton, but he made a statement one day that was very profound to me. And he said, the most difficult thing to do is to write an obituary to an old, unproductive Negro, which just because you got money don't mean you're productive. It just means you have money because what you could have been doing to get that money could have been counterproductive. It's a lot of us. I mean, look at us. Look at how many people out there. I'm not just speaking of black people, but look how many people out there now are going to prison because they scammed the government out of those PPP loans. And it's coming back. It's coming back. How many people have you seen out there that have really just some type of scheme going? And the thing about it is, some of these people could have just done it and stopped, but they couldn't stop. They just kept on going and going and going. It's like a drug, an adrenaline rush. Even that voice inside them will tell them, "Hey, you shouldn't be doing this. Stop doing this. You're going to get caught." The love of money will make you override those thoughts, and it'll make you do, anything to continue to get that money. That song by the day for the back in the day by the love for the love of money. It's still just as true now as it was written when it was written back in the '70s. Even more so now, because back then, like I said, there was a code. You didn't walk over your brother or your sister or your friends or just another person struggling like you, trying to make it past to get it. Now it doesn't matter. It's a straight dog eat dog world. And that is exactly where they want us to be at. Because as long as it's dog eat dog, we can't come together for one common cause. Because the minute I trust you, I know you trying to get over on me, or I'm trying to get over on you. Taking advantage of people that with children that just for a small, slight come up. But it's going to come back on you. In one form, way, or another, it's going to come back on you. And you're going to have to be made to atone for the things you've done. That's just the law of nature, you know? So, let's be more smart about how we talk about money, what motivates us for money, and, just having a better plan when it comes to our outlook and teaching our children about money. It's an important tool to have. That's what it is, a tool. It's not something that you love and you conspire and you do anything under the sun nefarious to get. It's something that you use as a tool. And if you do it the correct way, use it as a tool to make more money correctly, because the bill always comes due. I told people like during COVID, everybody was all excited about the stimulus payments we had going on. And I told them, I said, we got these stimulus payments going on, but where's that money coming from? It wasn't just made up out of thin air. Now look at where we're at right now. The bill always comes due. And let's get together for any of those who would like to, and do some collaborations, maybe have some discussions. Because as you can see, I'm actually a person that has something to say. I'm not a person that's going to sit there and just talk about BS all day one day. I'll shoot the Jones with you for a little while, but for me, it gets tired. I need to be talking about something that's going to expand my mind and that's going to help the plight of civilization. So if you found any value in this, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, I'll leave you with love, peace, and happiness. Peace.